My name is Ronnie Archie. I am currently a second-year emergency medicine resident at Franciscan Health Olympia Fields in the south suburbs of Chicago. I went to college in upstate New York, University of Rochester. During that time, I got very involved in emergency medical services. So I took an EMT basic course, got certified, and kind of solidified my interest in medicine at that time. And so pretty much from then on, from while I was in college and even after college, I was involved in EMS or emergency medicine research or in some way, shape, or form since that time before starting into medical school at St. James. I can't really say what started. I mean, I loved ER as a child and my friends made fun of me. So maybe on some level, subconsciously, that influenced me, the TV show ER. But no, I liked working with people. I was a lifeguard also at the end of high school and in college. So I liked helping people. I've always loved science, so that tied into. So it seems like medicine was like the natural fit. I can mix science, I can mix helping people, I can mix my social aspect of loving the beach hattie and have friends and talk to people and kind of put that all into one direction, which ended up being medicine. I remember seeing some type of flyer in my school about interested in medicine, like look at our Caribbean school. It wasn't St. James, but it was a Caribbean school in general, but that was literally the first, maybe second time I had heard about a Caribbean school. The first time, admittedly, was literally on the TV show ER. They mentioned it, but that was the first time I really heard about it in real life. And I saw that flyer and I didn't act on it. It was just in the back of my mind so that when it actually became time for me to apply to schools, it kind of came more forefront. But how St. James, man, now I really gotta rack my mind. I think particularly, I did my research. I was always a good student in college. Admittedly, I remember being nervous about the MCAT. And so I was like, if I don't do well, I wanna like have options, look to. Not meaning that, you can not do well and go on, but I was like, I just wanna kind of like make sure I did my homework. And long story short, took the MCAT, did my prep stuff, get my applications together, and I applied to both US MD schools as well as Caribbean MD schools. And somehow in the wash, it kind of came out that it just seemed that St. James was the best fit for me in regards to like starting right after college, getting in the options that the options of places where they offered rotations because I was from Chicago, and it kind of just all really worked out. I don't know, I really had to remind myself what I was there for, right? At first, obviously, you get there, it's beautiful. There's things to do, it's a vacation-y spot. It's a touristy spot, so that's cool. And so at the beginning, it's kind of like, man, I feel like I'm somewhere new. It's exciting, it feels like vacation for the first few days, but then you're there for school, right? And school starts. So the transition kind of, for me at least, is lessened by the fact that I had tasks and I had stuff to do. I had to study, I had to work, I had to take tests, I had to do a full med school curriculum. The only thing was that, I just happened to have this island and warm weather 24/7 when I had time to do non-school stuff. People always ask me like, oh, like when you were living there, it must have been amazing because you just spent so much time like on the beach or doing that. I also loved water. I was a swimmer in high school. I was a lifeguard. And they ask like, did I spend all my time on the beach? And regrettably, I'm like, I probably spent less time in the water when I was in Anguilla than I did at any other place in life because I was just busy with school. So when I wasn't studying or whatever, I was probably napping or sleeping or eating. And so sometimes I'm like, did I take advantage of the island fully? So the transition was cool because I was in a nice place, but it really kind of worked out because I quickly, switched into school and academic mode, and that really kind of helped focus what I needed to do. For me, I really just kind of had to, remind myself of my goal, right? I knew, for me personally, so I had the EMS background, I knew that I wanted to do something in medicine. There are times that you don't do well on a test or an exam or a course even is, extra challenging, and you do have those thoughts, right? But then I often think of the alternative. Okay, if I wasn't doing this, what would I do? Would I be happy in another medical field? There are plenty of amazing medical fields. There's nursing, there's emergency medical services, paramedicine, all that type of stuff. All equally important and all great things. I just knew personally that it would be hard for me to change my path off of something that I really knew I wanted to do. I would have regrets. I would kind of always be like, man, I could have, and I maybe would have if this and that. So I wanted to make sure I gave it my all, right? Obviously, you have to self-reflect and evaluate. If you've tried and things change and you change your focus and you grow and evolve, that's perfectly fine. But if you kind of think, I really want to do this and I want to figure out how to get through it, then you're determined to figure out how to get through it. I will never forget, I had my first boss my first boss after college. He was an attending in the ER. I was coordinating a trauma triage study. And he told me as I was going into med school, he was like, there's gonna be times when you're questioning yourself. He was like, you're gonna be like, why the heck did I do this? And he was like, but just remember that we all have that moment. It's gonna be in med school, it'll be in residency, kind of like what I said before. And remembering those words from him too kind of helped. And so just kind of remembering my goal kind of helped me stay on track and on target. For me, it was kind of a mix of things. One, I wanted to make sure I was prepared, right? I wanted to make sure I passed all my exams, made sure I had everything, teed up application-wise. But for me, to make sure I was prepared, really competitive, we had a great rotation in medical school. I had a rotation in burn at a hospital that we're affiliated with. And I was able to connect with a physician there and attending who was able to offer me a spot to get some additional training after med school and before residency in an area where I was actually practicing as a physician under my own temporary license as a physician, a training physician in that hospital. So doing that gave me extra years of experience. I was with him for 2 years, doing a little bit of research too, but I was with that program doing clinical work and learning and kind of just really learning what it's like to be basically an intern, what it's like to be a new doctor, how to assimilate yourself into a hospital system, having to work with other people who are residents, who are med students, people who are new to your service, and having to kind of be a leader at that time too, when I'm also trying to figure out this new thing of being a doctor for myself. So for me, that really gave me preparation as I continued to make sure that my application was complete and the best that it could be as I applied for the specialty of my choice. So right now, I am in my second year, finishing up my second year of emergency medicine residency, and my program is a 3-year program. So I've got 1 year left after this year is concluded. I think for me, I want to apply, actually coming up pretty soon, I'm going to apply for fellowships. There's many different fellowships you can do in many different fields. For me, I'm going to apply for an EMS, Emergency Medical Services Fellowship, just to get some additional training in that subspecialty of ER, of emergency medicine. So I hope to pursue an additional year of training, go somewhere that has a good program to give me that training in emergency medical services, and then I'll be on my own, looking for jobs as a full emergency medicine attending, working somewhere hopefully with, involvement in EMS and disaster and things like that, and really just kind of figuring out, my new life and kind of get my feet into the attending world. I know that's going to be a transition just like it was becoming a resident, but, it's a step that we all are aiming for, that we all got to go through. For me, yes, in emergency, it's different. It can be challenging because my days are always different. There's a lot of the same, but they're always different. But in general, a day is really, for me, day can also be any time of the day. So it can be morning, you start in the morning, it can be starting midday, or it can be starting night and going into the morning. So that can vary. But really, a day really just looks like you're getting to work and you're there and you're ready to hustle. As a resident, regardless of your field, you're going to work hard, you're going to work fast, and you've really just got to, put your all into it. You are working with other people. Medicine is a team sport, so you've got to make sure that you come ready to play, so to speak. And I mean that not in a competitive way, but in a way to help out. Regardless of your field, you're going to have a busy service, more than likely. You're going to have multiple attendings that you report to, and you're going to be working a lot of hours. And typically in residency, you're probably oftentimes working more hours than maybe you may once you're finished with residency. So it's going to be busy, it'll be hard, but it's also fun. For me, a day looks like, and this is biased because I'm in the ER, but a day looks like, I'm seeing patients in and out, but I have moments where, the room seems calmer than sometimes, and so I'm able to see my patients, I'm able to catch up on some notes during those patients, and I've got colleagues sitting around me that, something funny comes up, something interesting, I can take a few seconds or a minute or two to laugh about it and talk about it. But inevitably in the ER, something serious or something critical is going to come through those doors, and I've got to reshift my focus. And that's just really the field itself. But I think that's really true to any resident. You're going to have different experiences and different situations that come up, and you're going to have to be flexible, and you're going to have to be able to adjust. You're going to have to get used to sometimes staying late and not getting out on time. And sometimes you do. Sometimes you luck out and you get out early. Maybe not so much in EM, but in other fields that happens too. In EM, we do rotations in other specialties as well, just like any intern or any residency. So we get a little taste of what internal medicine looks like and what anesthesia looks like or something like that. So all of those things are great experiences because they only help and add to your repertoire as a doctor. So really, it's hard to say a day. It's varied, it looks different, but it really involves getting to work, being ready, being energized as best you can because you're working all the time, and just kind of open-minded to learn something new, to be challenged in different ways than maybe you thought you would be or could be, and always just ready to kind of go forward and do the best that you can.